The dictionary defines the word ascension as the act of rising to an influential position or higher level. And nothing better demonstrates ascension in the YouTube community than achieving the coveted Silver Creator Award, for it is, among other things, the first milestone that the platform officially recognizes a creator for. Those who have received their personalized silver play button have celebrated with their supportive fans in a number of ways, some cringier than others. Next, it is also when a channel is taken seriously by the platform and, according to Tubix.com, deemed a guerrilla channel, entitling it to a partner manager, digital verification, and a host of other perks. In addition, the channel becomes more attractive to sponsors, which opens up new ways for a person to earn a sustainable living. Last but not least, it signals to the content creator's audience, many of whom have been watching since day one, and fellow or even rival content creators alike, a distinction of ascending to a place reserved for the famous few, which is certainly true, considering that in 2022, only a little over 300,000 of more than 51 million YouTube channels have reached this plateau. Assuming this is accurate, an aspiring content creator starting their channel today has just a little over 0.5% chance of reaching this point. Suffice it to say, it takes a combination of luck, skill, dedication, talent, and a bit of creativity algorithmically to reach such an accomplishment. Many have tried and failed, and some have, after a long go at it, resigned to their sub-6-figure subscriber fate. Unlike other channels that highlight the rise and fall of a content creator, this series focuses on their ascension. Here is one such story of a content creator who ascended to the rare few seemingly overnight, and then vanished just the same. Miles King, or King Fame, is the owner of the channel L of the Day, a quasi-content cop commentary style channel. As to what an L is, he explains it in a Q&A with the following.
First question, what does the L stand for? So an L is a loss. It's if you take a loss, it's like the opposite of winning, right? So if you didn't take a win, you took an L. Or also you could say if someone failed, right? You usually, if someone says you take this L, that means you fucked up in some form of way. That's what take a L is. So L of the day is pretty much someone taking the L for the day, as in they lost.
Due to his dry humor, coupled with a deliberate, monotone delivery, his following has acknowledged that they would tune in to watch a video of him reading a phone book if it meant more content from the elusive King. However, his titular series delivers the goods. It is here where King rightfully calls out other content creators and so-called influencers who are arguably engaged in questionable acts for clout and income. From Twitch streamers to Instagram personalities and even creators on this very platform, big or small, celebrity or civilian, no one was exempt. Through sober words and bewildered expressions that hide just beneath his stoic veneer, King perfectly conveys the ridiculousness with which these people conduct themselves for a captive audience. Consequently, people were eagerly anticipating who got the L of the day, and potential targets were expecting to catch one, some even considering it a badge of honor. But before we get into that, a brief history on the King. Little is known of him due to his online presence being either well curated or simply non-existent. There was another YouTube channel prior to his current under the name King Fame 4. However, evidence of this has since been scrubbed. There was also another Twitter with the handle King Fame TV, but it too suffered the same fate. A Twitch channel exists, though it seems to have been abandoned, with just over a half dozen VODs remaining. It appears he streamed playthroughs of games from the John Madden football series.
What Holmes did? I thought he had an all-star receiver. Where did he do that?
First down at the 46.
Oh, you never open with Shazier on the field. He go quick. Get this man some milk. He needs some milk.
Thus, aside from his current channel, the only other presence he seems to have online is Twitter. from which he's mastered the ability to be selective about what personal information to divulge. What has been gleaned from his social media is the following. He was born on the 14th of January, presumably in the mid-90s, and he hails from a small Mississippi town of Yazoo that has a population of just under 30,000 people. Currently, he resides in Texas, in or near Fort Worth. He is a non-fair-weather Falcons fan. His favorite animal is a meerkat, and he unironically prefers pineapple on his pizza. His current channel shows that he joined the platform on the 18th of February in 2013, though the earliest upload is on the 14th of May in 2016. On King's Twitter, he is seen posting links to his videos as early as March, which coincides with when he joined the platform under the rebranding. But those have since been privated, leaving the possibility of not only even older videos that may have existed, but, as confirmed by King himself, videos he'd since privated for one reason or another. Through the ones that have been confirmed in the previously mentioned time period, consisted predominantly of gameplays of NBA 2K16, his most popular series being Park Random's Be Like. King states that he began contemplating changing the direction of his content in April of 2016 due to his waning interest in playing games for videos and his confidence in talking about other topics. The first attempt in this new direction was an exposed video about the Madden games, which he then moved on to talking about YouTubers in relation to the Madden games, and finally dropping the latter altogether. This is where the first public upload comes in. As of today, his L series is currently broken up into 4 seasons. The titles are so apropos to the transition he experienced that on first glance, people are likely to miss the subtext. As such, we'll take it season by season and analyze his journey accordingly. The first upload of the season is a sub 3-minute video featuring King talking about fellow content creator Girl Just Gaming receiving an L for throwing a comforter over her PS4 in order to eliminate the noise it was making. This act being ridiculous for the obvious reason that in doing so, she made the machine run hotter and thus destroyed it. King doesn't appear to be vitriolic towards Just Girl Gaming, as he was a follower of hers on Twitter, but it was indeed the beginning of a promising series, eventually garnering just over 1.8 thousand views. However, his next 2 videos were met with a lukewarm response. That is, until the video thereafter, which wound up reaching 2.5 thousand views, which may have been due to a keyword being used in his title. King utilized a method to draw viewers in that many content creators engage in, an act that is called clickbaiting, whereby certain words are used in the title and description, and suggestive or provocative thumbnails are included, or a combination of all these elements in an attempt to attract viewers to a video. The practice itself is not dubious, but so often the video contains nothing related to the above methods used to pull in viewership, which is the key factor. Again, many content creators have been guilty of such, some of whom to the point of blatant exploitation, which is why, by and large, the practice is derided by the community. In King's case, though clickbaity, his content was relevant, and it was a practice he wasn't above employing, essentially admitting to it on his video highlighting former Twitch streamer Zoe Burger, a person of whom will be referenced to and make another appearance in subsequent videos. And the plan worked. His 9th upload covering a YouTuber who used his girlfriend to strip for viewership, garnering just under 300,000 views. King had previously been absent from the videos, save for his voice, and instead interspersed gameplay footage with relevant clips or images, until his upload on the 7th of February in 2017, where he teased a face reveal. 2 months later, he would go on to do a proper face reveal in a video talking about none other than Zoe Burger, explaining the crisis in Syria. The TLDR for this is as follows. On the morning of April 7th, 2017, the United States launched 59 Tomahawk cruise missiles from the Mediterranean Sea into Syria, aimed at Shayrat Air Base, controlled by the Syrian government. The strike was executed under the responsibility of U.S. President Donald Trump as a direct response to the Khan Shaykhun chemical attack that occurred on the 4th of April. The strike was the first unilateral military action by the United States targeting the Syrian government during the Syrian civil war. Berger or any other content creator compelled to inform their audience of this in and of itself is not problematic, as King would go on to concede. However, it was her doing so in revealing or distracting clothing that was the issue. As noted, no one was off the radar for King, most notably female content creators who seemingly benefited from the double standards in place on platforms such as Twitch, getting away with essentially softcore porn, or, in the case of Twitter, full-on nudity. Additionally, they were being incentivized by their mere existence by throngs of simps, a point that was frustrating for King, and he delivered the smoke to personalities such as Mia Khalifa, Zombie Unicorn, and Clara Babylegs, to name a few. These videos obviously were not well received by their recipients, and they used whatever methods they could to suppress King's voice, but he would not be silenced. In fact, he eventually found his groove and an audience who seemed to come at a rate that even he was unprepared for, lingering at less than 1,000 subscribers in April of 2017. 2 weeks later, he would surpass that goal. This inspired him to adopt a grind set to upload more L's, taking the series from L of the Week to the so-named channel. And the season finale would be spectacular, ending off with King essentially slaying a dragon that is Logan Paul for his actions surrounding filming a person who took their life in the Aokigahara forest in Japan, known to be a frequent site of suicides. King denouncing Paul's actions and examining the apology he gave in light of the huge backlash he received. King would go on to note the importance of addressing mental health, of which he was an avid proponent. It is by this point that the King decides to dedicate more time into producing content, apparent by the playlist comparatively the largest of the four by about a dozen. King also sees growth at an unprecedented rate. In May of 2018, he announced that he hit 2 milestones. First was reaching 4,000 subscribers, and also having the first video to receive 1,000 likes. But he had no time to rest, because just 3 days later, he would announce that Social Blade wasn't able to keep up with the growth, as he was nearly at 10,000 subscribers. This growth can be attributed to essentially the equivalent of winning the lottery for a content creator, with a shout out from none other than PewDiePie.
By the way, I found this clip through L of the Day. He has some really good videos about the situation. His channel was one of the original videos that got striked by Collab DRM as well.
An act King was so thankful for that he handed him a first ever W of the day. From there, it would become such a wild ride that he made a 2-part Q&A addressing, among other things, the influx of viewers, which at that point had more than doubled. Then by the summer of 2018, it had more than doubled that amount, sitting at 50,000 subscribers. He addresses this in a video on July 16th.
Just a few months ago, probably like in February or March, I had maybe 1K. I think I was close to getting to 2K, but I was stuck there for like a very long time, mostly because I would always like to take a break from YouTube if I didn't like the way certain things were going with my channel, because I felt like I was putting in all the work but not getting any of the benefits of that work. So what I would do was take a break from YouTube until I could figure things out and try to see what I was doing wrong, and then come back stronger and do it even better than I was before. Because I would always have people comment underneath my videos like, oh, you should be way bigger, this channel should be huge, why aren't people subscribing to you? Instead of uplifting me, it will make me feel bad. Not because what they were saying was a bad thing, that's a praise no matter who says it. It's just the fact of I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong. And this time I came back, and I think April. I came back in April, started season 2 of L of the Day. Now, if you would have asked me in April, the very first upload I did that month when I made the comeback, what my subscriber goal was for this year, say today, if you asked me what is the goal for today, I probably would have looked at you and said 3K. And I would have been happy. I would have been very happy with having 3Ks a day at that point, because I could never imagine that over the course of these last 3 or so months that I would grow as fast as I've been growing. And me growing so fast as I've done, it has kind of distorted my view of what fast growth is, because there have been times, not now, not today, but there have been times throughout this entire process where I was like, man, I'm growing slow. Like, the numbers would go from, say I would get 1K subs a day, right? Which is amazing for a lot of people. And then one day I would only get, say, 200 or 300 subs that day. And I would feel like, oh man, my channel is doing bad. And that's crazy to say, because thinking that 200 or 300 people is a small amount of people to come and show you love and support, it's just goofy. Because when you compare and you think about it in a real life aspect, let's say I tried to fill up my block with all of you, 50,000 people is an amazing amount of people. And no, you would not fit on my block without stretching over around the corners and things like that. It would be a whole rally. And I thought about it like this: my city that I grew up in is a smaller city. The population of that city is 10,000. Me growing up, I thought that was a large amount of people. 10,000 is a huge number. So for it to be 5 times that many people as there are in my city is amazing to me, because growing up, you could never tell me that 5 times the amount of people in my city would love and support me. And I know I'm saying it's 5 times.
However, it wasn't the success he was hoping it to be, as he had to deal with several obstacles. One was a long-standing issue with YouTube demonetizing or placing limited ads on its videos, some as far back as Season 1, well before he was eligible for the partnership program, a fact that he would state in one of his rant videos on the subject.
My channel does well in spite of YouTube not having my back. That's just lucky me. For most people, if you do what you want to do and you say what you want to say, YouTube says, no way, not today. You do what you want to say, and you will not get paid. Say what we say or you won't get plays.
The reasons given by YouTube were, of course, vague, the frustration of which resulted in one of what would turn out to be several periods of King's absence from the platform, which by this time the audience both anticipated and understood. However, L's were still being given. Those of note include streamers such as Amaranth, Alinity, and social media influencers Bad Baby and Whoa Vicky. This is also the season that contains King's second largest video to date, covering Mexican Andy, a California-based streamer notorious for his socially awkward, cringy, and creepy behavior. Adding to this was a face riddled with cystic acne, as highlighted in the thumbnail. Personally, this is the video that served as the entry point for me into King's channel, speaking to its reach, because I had no interest or affiliation with Andy or his benefactor, for that matter, streamer Ice Poseidon. King garnered a call out from Ice himself, chastising King for what he considered picking on someone who wasn't able to properly defend themselves, and inviting King to go after him.
I don't see this guy making videos on people like myself, but he's gonna do it on Mexican Andy. That's up. He's picking on the weak.
A challenge he accepted. In the month of August of 2018, King delivered 2 shots at Ice that was resoundingly received by King's rapidly growing audience. This saga essentially wrapping up what turned out to be the peak season. This season contains the least amount of videos, perhaps due to a confluence of external and internal obstacles that proved to be too great for the King. Firstly, 2018 was the height of the presidency of one Donald Trump, a man who proved to be so divisive for the nation that even people who were by and large moderate or even apolitical were forced to take hard sides. Civil unrest and the need for content creators to respond, if nothing more than to virtue signal, made people cautious with their words. King was no exception. However, he still didn't shy away from issues such as blackface and manspreading. Surprisingly, King didn't have an opinion that was expected of him on first blush. It was more nuanced than the average viewer cared to put effort into understanding, a fact made clear in a rant video on the 5th of May in 2018 of his exhaustion of white people telling him what he should be offended by. Though he tried keeping politics out of his videos, his Twitter became inundated from those who were outraged. something that proved to be mentally exhausting. Additionally, if not the never-ending monetization issue, he was also continuing to deal with YouTube's arbitrary removal of certain videos for content deemed to be against their terms of service. He was getting takedown notices from offended content creators, flippantly abusing the system, all of which was juxtaposed against the acknowledged potential of becoming bigger. He would begin to sell branded merchandise, and his eager audience showed support. However, this couldn't satiate the depression that seemed to be brooding just below the surface. There was also the fact that after uploading his final video for the season, King would cross the 100,000 subscriber mark. Despite being punctuated with absences and sometimes reverting back to videos containing gameplay footage and voiceover, King went back to uploading at the rate of Season 1. This season, however, had several videos of note, the first being hands down the best story time ever told by a YouTuber. King famously privated many videos that weren't to his satisfaction, many of which were rants or story times, but this one he allowed to remain after teasing its premiere on Twitter. The 14-minute video is about his food service from Pizza Hut and the chaos that ensued, which has the punctuation, delivery, and pacing of a legit stand-up set.
This is the story time of how I got beef with a Pizza Hut place that was close to me at the time. Basically, it started one night in the hotel room when I decided to order me some old Pizza Hut, and from the get-go, once I was ordering the Pizza Hut, I knew that something was wrong because they told me a block away the Pizza Hut was, like a 5-minute drive at the most. Told me that my delivery would take about 2 hours when I ordered the food, and I didn't feel like going to do carry out because I was relaxing. I was in the hotel chilling up. I wasn't trying to be a part of that. I wasn't trying to get up and go and do that. So I knew from right then that was not a good sign, but I went with it anyway and didn't order from anyone else. I decided to wait the 2 hours. The pizza came. I heard a knock on my room door, and lo and behold, when I open it, I get this most traditional, stereotypical, generic looking blonde teenager with the braces and the pimples are popping. I'm pretty sure his voice cracked at some point during this conversation. So he's telling me to sign for the pizza, so I have to sign the receipt. And the pen that he gives me does not work whatsoever. And I didn't have a pen on me in the room. So I looked at him and he looked at me and I'm like, I don't have cash. What do you want me to do? And he just takes the receipt and he goes. I don't sign for anything. There's no confirmation that I received the food. He hands me 2 boxes of pizza, which are far lighter than 2 boxes of pizza should ever be. I don't think anything of it. He takes the blank receipt, throws his arms back like a Naruto character and does that stupid run away from me, and I don't think anything of it. I close my door and I open the box. I start eating away, chomp, 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 and then I switch to the other pizza. I want some pineapple. I like pineapple on my pizza. I try to switch to that one and eat some pineapple slices. Box is completely empty. There's not a crumb. There's not like a breadstick, some sauce, none of that, and I'm confused.
On that note, King has a tendency to include Easter eggs, callbacks, and relevant music in his videos, which speaks to the level of dedication he puts into his work. With his cadence and deliberate effort of minimizing his southern drawl, coupled with his penchant for rhyming, made famous in later seasons, people believed King to be a hip-hop artist, something that he has denied. It is also not a stretch to consider him moonlighting at open mics, but this is also something he hasn't confirmed. The second video being one of his defining moments on the channel, as it is the highest viewed at 1.5 million as of today. For King, this was a mixed blessing, as getting a video over 1 million views was something he aspired to attain. But he also loathed, as it was a project he put the least amount of effort into on essentially a throwaway subject, the objectification by trolls on social media of actress Melania Van Traub, most known for her portrayal of saleswoman Lily Adams in AT&T commercials in the 2010s. The success so unbelievable, King joked he may have made a deal to get it. Finally, and on a more somber note, there was a video of King offering an explanation for, by far, his longest absence to date, which had been nearly 6 months. In the video, King looks visibly exhausted and explains, although briefly and vaguely, that an overall lack of motivation and certain personal issues kept him away from making a video. His Twitter gives more hints as to what those issues may have been, presumably a relationship he was in that proved to be complicated and toxic, and one that greatly affected him. But also other mental and especially physical issues, one being a torn meniscus. Next, as noted by his masked face, he was dealing with quarantine in light of COVID-19. King also moved to a newer place in the meantime, all of which seemed to slow his progress. 9 videos, including his most popular, would be produced. Until one day, the King went away again. An absence that appears to be the longest on record, surpassing his 175-day stint by almost 100 days. Such a break can cause the momentum you built up succumb to a halt, as any creator knows. However, by all accounts, King does not care, and rightfully so, since he prioritizes, among other things, his physical and mental health over what he could possibly gain from content creation. The poignancy of the season's titles cannot be overstated, which seems to highlight King's sentiments not only with the video subjects, but also with the platform overall. The inherent backlash that came with such videos, whether it was from fans of the video's subject bombarding his comment section or Twitter timeline, the featured persons themselves sending takedown demands, or the platform upon which the videos were hosted, otherwise not allowing him to make a living, all of which seemed to bolster his resolve while also delivering a demoralizing blow that stunted his creativity. Creativity that was further exacerbated by the pressure to have videos perform at or above the last successful one. Add to this, he was able to experience almost firsthand the fake and parasitic nature of YouTube content creators. Additionally, there is a suspicion that when he reached the so-called mountaintop, he saw that not much changed. Combined with all that was going on with his life, the goal to reach the next milestone seemed unappealing. Or maybe he recognized there was something about punching through to the next level that required giving up something in return, perhaps losing the very hunger it took to get there. Many don't believe King's story has reached its full narrative, I among them. Not that there needs to be some dramatic ending, but that his arc isn't fully complete. And King seems to feel that way as well. As he has hinted on his Twitter, he seems to be stuck in a paradox of wanting to create content, but also requiring the right alchemy of motivation to empower him. In any event, if this indeed is the ending, it can be considered a graceful bowing out, achieving a milestone he couldn't have imagined. And for that, he has ascended.